Ravi had worked in the mountains for more than 15 years. Every morning he woke up before sunrise, packed his tools, and walked to the drilling site with calm steps. People in his village respected him because he never rushed and never lost focus. He believed that work done with patience always gave better results. He did not talk much, but he listened carefully to others. His friends trusted his judgment more than anyone else in the team. On a soft gray morning, Ravi and his small team gathered near the base of an old mountain range. The sky was pale blue, and a cool breeze moved over the slopes. The village elders had asked the team to search for a new water channel deep inside the mountain. The village had been facing a shortage of water for months. Wells were drying, and farmland was struggling. Everyone hoped the mountain still carried hidden water that could help the people. Ravi understood the responsibility on his shoulders. He checked every tool personally. His team included 3 simple workers named Ayan, Manoj, and Rahan. They were skilled, but always looked to Ravi for direction. When Ravi gave a small nod, they all knew it was time to begin. The team entered a narrow tunnel that had been partially carved during earlier searches. The walls were rough, made of old rock and dry soil. They put on helmets with small lamps attached. The light from the lamps created a faint yellow glow inside the dark tunnel. Dust rose around their boots with every step, but Ravi moved without hesitation. He remembered an old belief shared by the village elders. They said mountains protected both secrets and blessings, and only respectful hands could touch their heart. Ravi always kept those words in his mind. When they reached the deeper part of the tunnel, Ravi placed his heavy drill against the wall. The drill was large, strong, and had helped him reach many underground spaces in the past. He turned it on. The sharp sound of the machine echoed across the enclosed tunnel. Manoj and Rian stood nearby, ready to clear fallen rocks. Ayan recorded the progress in a small notebook, something he always carried. The drilling went smoothly for the first 20 minutes. The machine cut through layers of stone without any problem. Then something unusual happened. A strange vibration traveled from the drill to Ravi's hands. It was not the familiar feeling of breaking rock. It felt different, almost like the drill had touched something that pushed back. Ravi tightened his grip and continued drilling. Suddenly, he heard a loud metallic sound, a sound that did not belong inside a mountain made of stone. The drill bit sparked lightly, and a sharp ring spread through the tunnel. Ravi immediately turned off the machine. The tunnel became silent again, except for the echo slowly fading away. Ayan took a step closer and asked what happened. Ravi did not answer right away. He knelt down and inspected the spot. The rock layer was thin and had broken away to reveal something flat and dark underneath. It looked smooth, almost polished. Ravi wiped the dust with his gloves and revealed a long metallic surface. This discovery confused all of them. How could such a surface exist deep inside a natural mountain? It did not look like any common metal. It looked heavier, darker, and strangely clean, as if it had been protected from time and weather. Rihan whispered that it was impossible for something like this to be buried here. Manoj suggested it might be leftover equipment from old miners, but the size of the metal surface did not support that idea. It looked too large and too perfectly shaped. Ravi pressed his palm against the metal. It felt cold, but not like ordinary iron. It felt more like a sealed door. It's flat and without scratches. Ravi asked Ayan to shine the lamp directly on the surface. Under the light, the metal reflected a faint shine that seemed unnatural. The team exchanged glances full of confusion. Ravi decided to clear the area further. He used a smaller tool to chip away the thin rock layer around the metal. As more stone fell away, they realized the metal surface was not a small panel. It was a wide wall stretching left and right. The edges were smooth, as if someone had carefully placed it inside the mountain long ago. The team felt uneasy, but they also felt a strong curiosity. Nobody expected such a discovery. Ravi stood silently for a few seconds, trying to understand what to do next. He felt that, whatever this was, it carried a story behind it, and that story was hidden for a reason. Just when Ravi leaned closer to inspect a lower corner of the metal, a soft humming sound rose from the wall. The sound was low, but the vibration passed through the floor, making small stones move slightly. The team stepped back in fear. Ayan asked if they should leave the tunnel immediately. Manoj grabbed his helmet tightly. Rahan looked at Ravi as if waiting for him to decide their safety. Ravi raised his hand and asked them to stay calm. The humming sound continued for a few seconds and then slowly faded. The metal wall remained still. Ravi carefully looked at every inch of the visible surface, but nothing changed. Still, he was sure the sound had come from inside the metal. He felt torn between caution and curiosity. Part of him wanted to leave and report this mystery to experts. Another part felt that the mountain had allowed him to discover something meaningful, something not meant to be ignored. The air inside the tunnel felt heavier now, as if the mountain itself was watching. The lamps flickered slightly. Ravi noticed that even the dust in the air seemed to settle more quietly. He took a slow breath and made a decision. He told the team they would clear more of the area, though they would stay alert and move carefully. The workers trusted him completely. They returned to their positions and continued removing rock from the edges. As they worked, the shape of the metal wall became clearer. It was perfectly flat and made of a single piece. No scratches, no dents, and no signs of rust. It looked untouched by time. After nearly an hour of careful work, they revealed a rectangular outline on the surface. It looked like a door. There were no handles or hinges, but the outline was too perfect to be natural. Ravi stared at it with deep focus. He felt the same strange vibration again, not from the drill, but from inside the metal. He reached out and placed his hand gently on the center of the door shape. The metal was cold, but there was an unusual sensation under his skin. It felt like the material was holding energy, quiet but alive. For a moment, Ravi felt a small pulse under his palm, like a heartbeat. He pulled back in surprise. The team stepped back again. They were breathing heavily, not from physical work, but from the tension building inside the tunnel. Ayan whispered that maybe they should leave now. Rihan agreed, saying the wall felt unnatural. Manoj looked frightened, but trusted Ravi to decide. Ravi took a deep breath. He asked them to stay calm. He told them they would not touch the metal again for now. Instead, they would observe and decide safely. They sat down on the dry ground with their lamps pointed at the wall. The mountain was silent once more. After a few minutes, something happened that changed everything. The metal wall emitted a soft glow along the rectangular outline. It was not bright, but enough to catch their attention instantly. Thin lines of light traced the edges of what looked like a hidden door. The team stood up quickly, their hearts racing. The glow slowly grew stronger. A gentle vibration filled the tunnel again. The team took several steps back, but Ravi stayed in front, watching carefully. The edges of the rectangle lit up completely, forming a clear door shape. Their eyes widened in shock. The metal wall was opening. The front panel slid slightly away from the stone, creating a small gap. A cold breeze came out of the opening and moved across their faces. The smell was unlike anything they had sensed before. It was clean, fresh, and carried no dust. The team panicked. They backed away, unsure of what was happening. Ayan gripped Ravi's arm tightly and said they had to run. But Ravi stood rooted to the ground. He did not move. He could not move. His eyes were fixed on the slowly widening gap. Something ancient was waking up inside the mountain, and Ravi knew that this discovery was only the beginning of something far bigger than any of them had imagined. The moment the metal door began to open, the entire team felt a wave of fear mixed with curiosity. The air around them grew colder, as if the mountain itself was releasing a long-held breath. The glow along the edges of the door grew brighter, and the soft hum inside the metal walls returned. It was not loud, but it had a strange power that made the ground feel alive. Ravi stood closest to the door. His lamp shone directly at the widening gap, but the light did not reach far. The space beyond the door looked dark, deeper than anything they had entered before. A cold gust flowed from the darkness and touched their faces. It smelled different from the tunnel air. It was clean and free of dust, as if the space behind the door had been sealed perfectly for many years. Ayan pulled on Ravi's arm, asking him to step back. His voice trembled, showing he was scared but also trying to stay strong. Ravi told him in a calm tone that they needed to stay steady. He did not want to run without understanding what they had discovered. He felt that the mountain was revealing something important, something hidden for a reason. Manoj and Rehan stood a few steps behind them, watching the door open with wide eyes. Their lamps shook in their hands. They had never seen metal move like that, without any handles or hinges. The door slid straight into the wall, smooth and silent. It moved with a precision that did not match the rough, natural stones around it. When the door finally stopped, a narrow passage lay in front of them. It was tall enough for a person to walk through easily, and the walls inside were made of the same dark metal. The tunnel seemed untouched by time. No dust, no cracks, no rust. It looked like a place that had been waiting for someone to open it. Ravi stepped forward carefully. He did not cross the entrance yet. He wanted to observe every detail. The metal walls inside the passage had faint patterns, almost like lines that curved and joined like flowing water. They were not carved. They looked like they were part of the metal itself. Ayan asked if they should take a picture or call someone from outside. Ravi nodded. He told Ayan to take pictures for safety and evidence. Ayan took several photos with his phone, focusing on the door, the patterns, and the passage. Each flash of the camera made the walls reflect a soft shine. After taking the pictures, Ayan asked if they were going inside. Ravi looked at the entrance again. The unknown always carried risk, but it also carried answers. He felt that they could not ignore what the mountain had revealed. He stepped inside the metal passage slowly. His boots made a soft sound on the smooth floor. The others hesitated, but followed closely behind him. The lamps on their helmets shined ahead, but the passage absorbed the light in a strange way, making the space look deeper than it really was as they walked. They noticed that the sound of their footsteps echoed in a gentle and hollow manner, as if the metal was thin but strong. The air felt cool and fresh, giving them a sense that they were not inside a natural cave anymore. They were inside a structure created by someone with advanced skill. The passage led them to a circular room. When they entered the chamber, their lamps revealed more details. The room was tall with a domed ceiling. The entire space was made of the same dark metal. In the center of the room was a round table-shaped structure. It reached up to waist level and had smooth edges. Strange symbols circled the top surface. They were clean, sharp, and looked freshly carved, even though they might be extremely old. Ravi moved closer to inspect the symbols. They did not match any language he knew. Some looked like curved lines, while others looked like shapes connected by dots. Manoj asked quietly if the symbols were part of a coding system or a forgotten language. Rian wondered if someone had lived inside the mountain long ago. Ayan took more pictures and documented every detail in his notebook. Ravi placed his hand gently on one of the symbols. The metal under his skin felt colder than the rest of the room. The moment he touched it, the chamber reacted. A calm white light spread from the symbol to the rest of the markings. The light moved in a slow and smooth motion, as if waking up from sleep. The room brightened. The light was soft and steady, not harsh like electric lamps. It filled the chamber evenly, removing all shadows. The team gasped. They turned off their helmet lamps because the chamber light was enough to see everything clearly. Rehan stepped back, worried that they had activated something dangerous. Manoj held his helmet tightly, unsure what would happen next. Ayan stood quiet, staring in awe at the glowing symbols. Ravi kept his hand on the table, watching how the light traveled across the walls. The chamber now looked like a living structure. More patterns appeared on the walls, showing curves, lines, and some shapes that looked like maps. Some patterns moved slowly, as if showing a flow of information. The walls felt intelligent. They looked as if they were responding to the team's presence. A soft vibration passed through the floor. This vibration was gentle but noticeable, like the heartbeat of the entire structure. Manoj asked if the floor was about to shift. Ravi assured him that they needed to stay calm and observe. A new, circular outline appeared on the far wall. It glowed faintly. The outline expanded and a second door opened, much smaller than the first one. This doorway led to another dark room. The team hesitated. They were unsure if they should enter further, but Ravi felt that the structure was guiding them step by step. It was not forcing them. It was revealing paths gently. The second room was darker. When they entered, their lamps turned on automatically because the chamber's light did not reach here. The room was filled with tall metal panels standing side by side like silent guards. The panels had patterns moving slowly across their surfaces. Like waves of information, I wondered if these panels were devices for storing knowledge or data. Ravi touched the nearest one. It was cool and smooth. The pattern on that panel shifted gently at his touch, turning brighter for a moment before returning to its natural state. They walked deeper into the room. In the center stood another structure, shaped like a tall capsule. The front of the capsule was transparent. Inside it was a glowing crystal sphere resting peacefully. The sphere emitted a calm light, soft and steady. It looked delicate and powerful at the same time. The team felt uncertain. They kept a safe distance. Ravi walked closer slowly. Something about the sphere drew him in. It felt welcoming rather than dangerous. He placed his hand near the capsule without touching it. The sphere responded instantly. It glowed brighter and pulsed lightly. The pulse traveled across the capsule and into the floor. Ayan whispered that the sphere seemed to recognize Ravi. Manoj and Rehan exchanged worried looks. They wondered if they should leave the chamber before something larger activated. Ravi stepped back slowly. The sphere dimmed again, returning to its soft glow. Ravi felt relieved that nothing harmful had happened. But he also sensed that he had awakened something important. The team stood quietly for a long moment. The only sound was the gentle hum of the structure and the soft glow of the sphere. Ravi told them they should step back into the first chamber and leave the deeper room for later study. They agreed. The discovery was already far beyond anything they had expected as they returned to the circular chamber. The walls dimmed slightly, as if the structure understood their movement. The metal patterns slowed down, returning to a calm state. Ravi felt that the mountain was sharing its secrets slowly and patiently, not rushing them. When they reached the original metal passage, they stood before the entrance again. The outside tunnel looked normal compared to the advanced structure behind them. The contrast made them realize how hidden and protected the chamber had been. Before stepping out, Ravi looked back once more. He felt that the mountain had trusted him to see the truth. He did not know why. He did not know who created this hidden structure. But he knew their lives had changed from this moment. The door began closing slowly behind them. It moved with the same silent motion. When it finally sealed shut, the tunnel became dark again, except for their lamps. The secret was hidden once more. But now Ravi knew it was there. And he also knew that whatever waited inside the mountain was far more important than they had imagined. The walk back to the camp felt longer than usual. Ravi and his team carried their tools, but their minds were full of the mystery hidden inside the mountain. The path outside looked normal, yet everything felt different now. The mountain seemed less like a collection of rocks and more like a place holding a living secret. When they reached the open area near their camp, the sunlight felt too bright compared to the cold metal rooms they had explored. Ayan, Manoj, and Rehan sat down on the ground, trying to understand what they had just seen. Ravi placed his drill carefully beside him and looked at the mountain with deep thought. He felt a connection to the hidden structure inside, almost like the mountain had allowed him to enter for a reason. Ayan took out his notebook again and began writing about the glowing walls, the patterns, the capsule, and the crystal sphere. He wrote quickly, afraid he might forget even a small detail. Manoj drank water and kept shaking his head. He had drilled in many mountains before, but had never seen anything close to what they discovered. Rehan sat quietly, staring at the entrance of the tunnel. After resting for some time, Ravi told them they would return to the village to share the news. The villagers deserved to know the truth, and experts would be needed to study the structure safely. The team packed their equipment and headed down the mountain path. None of them spoke much during the walk. Each step carried the weight of what they had awakened. When they reached the village, a small group of people gathered around them. The villagers expected news about water, not a hidden structure inside the mountain. Ravi explained everything carefully, using simple words so everyone could understand. He told them about the metal wall, the glowing symbols, the clean passage, and the crystal sphere. Some villagers looked frightened, others amazed. The elders listened quietly, their faces thoughtful. One elder, named Harun, asked Ravi if the structure felt dangerous. Ravi said no. It felt peaceful, calm, and very advanced. Harun nodded slowly. He said the mountain had always been respected by their ancestors. Old stories told that the land protected special secrets. Maybe this was one of those secrets. The village head decided to contact the district office. A research team would come to study the structure properly. Until then, the entrance should remain closed. No one else was allowed to enter the tunnel without proper safety. The next morning, the research team arrived. They brought scanners, notebooks, cameras, and measuring tools. Their leader, a calm woman named Myra, introduced herself to Ravi. She thanked him for reporting the discovery and asked him to guide them to the metal door. Ravi agreed. The journey back up the mountain carried new purpose. The researchers followed closely behind the drilling team. Mira walked beside Ravi and asked questions about every detail. She wanted to know when the door opened, how the light behaved, and how the sphere reacted to Ravi's presence. Ravi answered honestly, still trying to understand everything himself. When they reached the entrance of the tunnel, Mira instructed everyone to move slowly and avoid touching anything unnecessary. They entered the dark tunnel with lamps on their helmets. The research team whispered in amazement when they saw the outline of the door. Myra studied the metal surface carefully. She ran a small scanner over it, and the device beeped softly. She frowned when she saw the results. The scanner could not identify the material. Ravi placed his hand near the outline, remembering how the door responded earlier. Mira asked him to step aside until she understood the mechanics. She did not want to trigger any sudden movement while the team was unprepared. After a few minutes of studying, she asked Ravi to touch the door again, gently. The moment Ravi placed his hand on the metal, the lines around the door glowed again. The soft hum rose from inside the structure. The researchers gasped and stepped back, watching with wide eyes. The door slid open the same way it had before, smooth and silent. Mira looked astonished. She whispered that the structure seemed to respond only to Ravi. The passage inside lit up as they walked in, reacting to their presence with calm white light. The researchers moved carefully, taking photos and notes. Their faces showed excitement mixed with disbelief. They had studied many ancient sites, but nothing like this. When they reached the first chamber, Mira stood still for a long moment. She slowly walked around the circular room, touching nothing but observing everything. The walls were clean and smooth. The patterns looked like flowing streams of information. The symbols on the center table glowed faintly as if waking up again. Mira asked Ravi to touch the symbol he had touched earlier. Ravi did. The chamber lit up fully, the same soft white light filling every corner. The research team stepped back respectfully, watching the room come alive. Mira's voice trembled with excitement. She said the structure was far beyond anything known in their region. It looked older than any recorded history, yet its condition was perfect. They moved to the second room. When the crystal sphere came into view, the researchers stopped. The glow inside the capsule was steady and peaceful. Mira walked closer slowly. She studied the capsule with her scanner, but the device showed no reading again. She touched the capsule lightly. It felt cool, almost like it was holding something powerful but silent. She asked Ravi to step closer. When he approached the capsule, the sphere brightened again, just like before. The glow pulsed lightly in the same slow rhythm. Mira observed carefully. She whispered that the sphere was reacting to him in a very specific way. She asked Ravi if he felt anything unusual. Ravi said he felt only a gentle warmth, nothing dangerous. The researchers spent hours studying the room. They wrote down measurements, took samples of the air, photographed every pattern on the panels, and recorded every reaction the structure showed. They were amazed by the clean environment inside the mountain. The structure had no dust, no moisture, and no signs of decay. It looked as if it had been sealed perfectly for centuries. After completing their first examination, Mira suggested they return to the first chamber to plan the next steps. They walked back through the glowing passage. The walls dimmed slightly after they left each section, as if saving energy or returning to rest. The entire structure felt alive, but controlled. Peaceful, yet aware. When they reached the first chamber again, Mira sat down on the floor and took a long breath. She said they were standing inside a place that held knowledge and purpose. She believed the structure might be a storage site for important information or technology created by an unknown civilization. The others agreed. No one had seen anything like this before. Ravi listened quietly, trying to understand everything. He felt no fear now. The calm light inside the structure made him feel safe. He sensed that whatever was hidden here was not created for destruction. It felt more like protection. The team decided to rest for a short time before going back outside. Ravi sat near the table of symbols. He reached out and placed his hand gently on it again. This time, the symbol glowed lightly, but did not activate the full chamber. It felt like the structure was acknowledging his touch without waking up completely. When they finally walked out of the metal passage and into the natural tunnel, the contrast was clear. The mountain's outer walls looked rough and old, while the structure inside felt advanced and untouched. The door closed behind them once more, sealing the passage with silent precision. As they walked down the mountain, Mira told Ravi something that stayed in his mind. She said the structure did not feel random. It felt like it was waiting. It felt like it had chosen the moment to open, and it had chosen Ravi to activate it. Ravi walked quietly after hearing that. He did not know why the structure reacted to him, or what it wanted him to discover, but one thing was certain. The glowing sphere, the living walls, and the mysterious patterns were only the beginning. The mountain had revealed its secret heart. That heart was still beating. The silence inside the hidden metal chamber felt heavy as Arun, Myra, Rafik, and the rest of the team stood around the strange round table in the center of the room. The gentle light coming from the marks on the walls still glowed with a soft pulse. It almost looked like the chamber was breathing. Arun felt that every sound he made echoed more than it should. When he stepped forward, the floor produced a small hum, like something inside the room sensed movement. It made him pause, but Mira encouraged him with a nod. She believed that the room wanted to be explored, and not feared. Rafik stayed close to the entrance, checking the path every now and then. He was worried that the chamber might close again. He remembered how the door had moved on its own when they first uncovered it. Even now he felt unsure if they were truly safe. However, his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He watched closely as Arun touched one of the symbols on the table. The symbol lit up brighter for a moment and then faded back to normal. Arun pulled his hand away, surprised by the warmth of the metal. He told the others that the table felt alive in some strange way. Mira walked along the wall where the symbols formed a line from one end of the chamber to the other. She tried to understand the pattern, but the symbols were unlike any language she had ever seen. They were smooth and round, almost like drawings of water and air. She leaned closer and saw tiny patterns inside each symbol, like tiny waves or flowing lines. She wondered if this was a form of communication or if the symbols served another purpose, maybe connected to the technology that made the chamber open. The other workers stayed behind the main group, whispering among themselves. Some believed they had found the remains of an old civilization. Others thought it might be a shelter built by people long ago to protect something of value. But there were also those who felt uneasy, believing they had entered a place that was not meant for humans. The fear showed on their faces. Arun noticed this and tried to calm them. He told them that they were here only to learn and that there was nothing dangerous happening. Then something unexpected occurred. The table in the center began to glow brighter, and the air around them changed. A soft breeze moved through the room, even though there was no opening anywhere in sight. The team stood still, waiting for what would happen next. A ring of light rose from the center of the table, forming a shape in the air above it. The workers gasped as the shape grew clearer. It looked like a map, but not a normal one. It showed a mountain range, a river, and a deep underground section with shining lines running through it. Arun stepped closer, studying the floating map. He noticed that the shining lines led to a point deep beneath the mountain. Mira pointed to it and said that maybe it showed the power source of the chamber. Rafik wondered aloud if the map was trying to guide them to something hidden below. The workers stepped back, afraid that the glowing map might react to them. Arun reassured everyone that the chamber seemed to respond only to touch, and nothing had harmed them so far. The glowing map then shifted. The section beneath the mountain opened like a flower, revealing layers of structures underneath. The team was shocked to see what looked like rooms, halls, and long tunnels. It was as if another world existed under the mountain. They wondered how old it was. Mira believed it must be thousands of years old. Some workers thought it might even be older than any known civilization. Arun stood silently, trying to understand what this meant for them and for the world outside. Suddenly, the light dimmed for a moment. A soft tone flowed through the chamber. It sounded like a message or a signal. The team listened carefully. The tone grew clearer, turning into a series of notes that repeated themselves. Mira said, "It might be a form of communication." Arun agreed and suggested that they focus on the pattern. The tone repeated again and again, steady and calm, almost like a greeting. There was no sign of danger. The chamber felt peaceful, even welcoming. After a few moments, the lights returned to normal. The map slowly dissolved until only the table remained. The team stood silently, taking in everything they had just witnessed. It felt unreal, yet every part of it was clear and precise. Arun asked Mira if she thought they should follow the map. She said they should think carefully before making any decisions. Rafik added that they needed proper equipment if they planned to explore deeper. But the idea of discovering more of the hidden world beneath the mountain filled them all with excitement. They decided to take a short break and gather their thoughts. Arun walked back toward the entrance with Rafik to check if the door remained open. The metal panels were still separated, forming a doorway that led back to the tunnel. Everything seemed stable. Arun felt relieved, but also wondered if the door would close again once they left. He told Rafik to mark the edges with chalk, hoping that it might help them understand if the door shifted at any time. Mira stayed near the table, writing down every detail she could remember. She sketched the map shape, the glowing lines, the mountain outline, and the deep tunnels shown in the floating image. She wanted to capture as much as possible before anything else happened. As she drew, she noticed that some symbols on the wall were now slightly brighter than before. She called Arun and Rafik over to show them. The symbols formed a path that curved along the chamber wall, almost like it was guiding them somewhere. Arun touched one of the brighter symbols. It lit up for a moment, then faded again. He looked around, wondering what the chamber wanted from them. Mira suggested that the symbols might respond only when the team was ready to explore further. Rafik was unsure, but he could not deny that the chamber seemed to react to their presence in ways that felt intentional. It did not feel dangerous. Instead, it felt like the chamber was waiting for them to understand its purpose. The team gathered again near the table. Arun told them about the map and the glowing symbols. The workers listened carefully. Some seemed frightened, but others were excited. They had never been part of anything like this. Arun decided that they would move slowly and stay together. He reminded everyone that they were not here to take anything. They were here to learn. The workers nodded, and the fear on some of their faces softened. They trusted Arun and believed in his judgment. As the group prepared to leave the chamber, the floor underneath the table produced another soft vibration. A small panel in the side of the table slid open. Inside the panel was a smooth metal object, shaped like a small stone. It gave off a faint glow. Arun picked it up carefully. The object felt warm like the table earlier. Mira said it might be a key or a guide. Rafik said it looked like something that belonged to the map. The workers watched in silence, waiting to see what the object would do. But nothing else happened. The object simply rested in Arun's hand, light and warm. He decided to keep it safe until they understood its purpose. The team then slowly stepped out of the chamber and into the tunnel. The metal walls behind them remained open. Arun felt strange as he walked away from the chamber. It felt like he was leaving something important behind, but he knew they would return. There was no doubt about that. When they reached the mouth of the tunnel and stepped into the natural cave, the air felt different. It felt lighter, yet filled with the weight of what they had discovered. The workers looked around as if trying to return to normal life, but it was impossible. Everything had changed. Arun turned to the group and told them they would rest, prepare equipment, and return the next day. They all agreed, though many looked surprised at how calm Arun seemed, as they walked toward the path leading to their camp. The hidden object in Arun's hand glowed brighter for a moment, then returned to its soft light. Arun did not say anything, but he felt that the chamber was not finished with them. He felt that everything they had seen was only the beginning. The next morning, the camp woke early with a quiet sense of purpose. Arun rose before sunrise, feeling the cool mountain air on his face as he stepped outside his tent. He held the small glowing object in his hand. It still felt warm, as if it were alive. He looked at it carefully, trying to understand what message it carried. He felt that the object wanted to guide him, yet its meaning remained hidden. Mira soon joined him. She looked tired but excited. She carried her notebook from the previous day, filled with sketches of symbols and diagrams of the floating map. She told Arun that she had studied the shapes late into the night and believed that the object was linked to the deeper tunnels shown in the glowing map. Rafik arrived after them, carrying ropes, helmets, and lanterns. He had spent the night preparing gear for everyone. The workers were also awake, talking quietly among themselves. Some looked nervous, but most showed determination. Everyone understood they were part of something important. Arun called them together and explained that they would return to the chamber, follow the symbols, and try to find the deeper passage the map had revealed. He repeated that safety came first and that they would move slowly. Staying together at all times, the walk back to the hidden tunnel felt different from the first time. The mountain seemed larger, ancient, and secretive. They followed the narrow path until they reached the entrance. When they stepped inside, the tunnel walls felt familiar, yet mysterious. Arun held the glowing object in front of him. The object responded to the surroundings with a soft hum. The sound was gentle and calming. It gave the group a sense of confidence as they moved deeper into the tunnel. When they reached the chamber door, they were surprised. The metal panels were already open, just as they had left them. It felt strange that the chamber remained unchanged, as if it had been waiting patiently for their return. The group stepped inside. The room looked exactly the same, with the round table in the center and the glowing symbols along the walls. The air felt still, yet alive. Mira noticed that a few symbols were brighter than before. She pointed them out to Arun. They seemed to form a new path, one that curved toward a corner of the chamber they had not explored closely. Arun walked toward the corner, holding the glowing object. As he approached the wall, the object glowed brighter. The symbols on the wall responded, lighting up in a steady pattern. The workers gathered behind him, watching in awe. Arun touched the brightest symbol. The wall shook slightly. A vertical line appeared on the smooth metal surface. With a soft rumble, another door slid open, revealing a narrow, descending passage. The light inside the passage was faint but visible. It seemed to come from the same hidden technology as the rest of the chamber. Myra was the first to step forward. She looked down the passage, trying to see how far it went. Arun told everyone that they would enter slowly. Rafik moved to the front with him. The workers followed, their lanterns adding extra light to the path. The group walked down the smooth stairs that led deeper into the mountain. The air grew cooler with each step. The walls gave off a gentle light that made the passage easy to follow. No one spoke. The only sounds were footsteps and the hum of the glowing object. After a long descent, they reached another large room. This room was different from the chamber above. Its ceiling was higher and the space felt wider. On the far side of the room stood a tall structure that looked like a pillar made of the same smooth metal. Symbols covered its surface. The pillar gave off a steady light, like a beacon guiding them. Arun approached it slowly. As he lifted the glowing object, the pillar responded with a brighter light. Everyone stepped back, unsure what would happen next. The pillar opened slightly, revealing a small hollow inside. The glowing object in Arun's hand pulsed strongly. Arun felt that the pillar wanted him to place the object inside the hollow. Mira agreed. She believed that the pillar was part of the system shown in the map and that the object was a key to activate it. Rafik stood beside them, ready to help if needed. The workers waited behind, tense but curious. Arun took a deep breath and placed the object into the hollow. The reaction was immediate. The pillar lit up from top to bottom, sending a soft wave of light across the entire room. The wave spread to the walls, forming lines that connected to distant shapes hidden in the darkness. The floor vibrated gently, but not in a threatening way. It felt like the room was waking up. The workers gasped. The light moved like flowing water, forming patterns that circled the room. As the light settled, a large image appeared on the far wall. It was another map, but much larger and clearer than the one in the first chamber. The map showed the entire mountain range, the valleys, the rivers, and the deep underground structures. It looked like a blueprint of an ancient system built beneath the earth. Myra walked closer, studying the lines. She realized that the underground structures were connected with natural elements like water paths and rock layers. It was a network designed with great intelligence. Arun understood that this was no ordinary construction. It was a system created to protect something or someone. The large chamber and the tunnels were not random. Everything was connected with purpose. A gentle sound echoed through the room. It was the same soft tone they had heard in the first chamber, but now it sounded clearer. The notes formed a soothing pattern. The group listened, trying to understand. Mira said the sound felt like a message, but not in words. It felt like the builders of this place wanted to show harmony between nature and technology. Rafik felt a calmness he could not explain. The fear that some workers had felt earlier began to fade. The room felt peaceful and safe. As the map continued to glow, Arun noticed something new. A small mark appeared at the base of the mountain on the map. He pointed it out to Mira. The mark slowly expanded, becoming a symbol that matched one on the pillar. Mira believed that the symbol indicated that they had activated the first part of the system. She wondered how many parts the system had. Arun said they should not rush. They needed to understand the purpose of each step. Rafik agreed. They all wanted to continue. They also wanted to move with respect. The pillar then released the glowing object gently into Arun's hand again. It now pulsed with a stronger light. Mira thought it meant the object held new information. Arun held it carefully. He felt a sense of responsibility. The workers watched him in silence. They trusted him fully, knowing he always acted with fairness and calm judgment. Arun turned to the group and told them that their discovery was bigger than they had ever imagined. He said they had found something that must have belonged to a wise and peaceful civilization, one that understood the mountain deeply. He explained that they needed time to study everything. They would return with better tools and more people, but they must protect the place and not damage anything. The workers nodded. They understood that this was not a site for treasure or personal gain. It was a place of knowledge. Before leaving, the group took one last look at the glowing map on the wall. The light slowly dimmed, as if the system understood that the visitors were leaving for now. The room returned to its calm state, with only the soft glow of the pillar lighting the space. Arun placed the object in his pocket. The group then climbed the stairs back to the first chamber, then back through the doorway and into the tunnel. When they reached the natural cave, sunlight was streaming in through the opening. Arun paused and looked back at the tunnel entrance. He felt a strange mix of responsibility and wonder. Mira stood beside him, saying that this discovery would change many things. It's not just for them, but for anyone who learned about it. Rafik agreed. He said the mountain now felt like a teacher, and they were its new students. The team walked back to camp with steady steps. No one spoke loudly. No one rushed. They moved with calm respect. The workers felt proud to be part of something so meaningful. Arun knew they would return soon, but with careful planning and the right support. For now, they needed to rest and prepare. That evening, as the sun set and the sky turned soft orange, Arun held the glowing object again. It pulsed gently in his hand, as if reminding him that the story was not over. It was only the beginning of a long discovery that waited beneath the mountain, held in silence for countless years.